my papa was John Goshorn, who was quite the retail man here in the valley, and he was also a banker. Now you've got to remember that back then we were part of Virginia and we were a slave state. So when Papa decided he wanted to get out of the retail business altogether, he became a gentleman farmer in what is now the Omaha region of Wheeling. And he went down to Richmond, Virginia, which got our family name so embroiled in the most infamous case at the time here in the valley. But he went down there to Richmond, spent $600, and bought my brother a female slave named Lucy Bagby. Brought her home and gave her to William, and William got her ensconced in the houses. They didn't realize that Lucy was a whole lot smarter than they ever gave her credit for. And she realized early on, Ohio was a free state. And if she could just get across the river, she would be safe. And that's exactly what Lucy did. She made her way all the way to Cleveland, Ohio, and started working as a maid. Well, when my brother and my father found out where she was hiding at and living, they went all the way to Cleveland, went to court, and insisted that they return their property. Now, the people of Cleveland were so incensed by this, they raised $1,200 to buy Lucy's freedom. But my brother said, no, she is my property, and I am taking her home, which they did. When they got back to Wheeling, they realized Lucy was never going to stay put, so they sent her down to Charleston to live with relatives down there, because then she'd be surrounded by slave states, and she wouldn't have the opportunity to run away again. Of course, Lucy got her freedom after President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation and freed all of the slaves. At that point, she returned back to Cleveland, resumed her life there. And this is the part that really, God bless her soul, she's a bigger woman than I am. On William's deathbed, she came back here and said goodbye. And then William died, and she went back to Cleveland and had a perfectly wonderful life from that point on. Now, when I was 18, a little old, they were saying I really should be married. I met Benjamin Franklin Kelley. Oh, Mr. Kelley was just so good looking. He was so handsome. And he was in retail too, and then he got a job with the B&O Railroad just before the war. We had 6 beautiful children, 4 boys and 2 girls. And then all of a sudden I got sick and I died. Just died young. I was just so young. That was about a year before the Civil War started. Once the war started, my husband was named Colonel of the 1st Virginia Infantry, and he was one of the men that helped put the whole regiment together. 3 of my sons immediately joined the Union Army and became lieutenant colonels and colonels. And my youngest, my little Tappan, oh, he was such a frail child. I don't know why he wanted to go to war in the first place, but he decided he was going to run off. He became a captain in the cavalry, but at age 24, he died from exposure and sickness that he incurred during the war. So he really didn't have a very long life. After the war, my husband went on and remarried and was named the head of the Hot Springs, Arkansas Military Reservation by President Arthur, and that's where he lived out the rest of his days. And when he died, he was buried in Arlington National Cemetery, because one of the first skirmishes ever in the Civil War, my dear husband led the troops, and would you know it, he was wounded, and they thought he was going to die. And Dr. Thorburn, who is from here, was the company surgeon. He treated him on the battlefield, sent him back to Wheeling, thinking, well, this is it. He's going to join his beloved wife. Well, no, he didn't. Not yet. He went back and eventually became a general in the Union Army. So that is my story, as short-lived as it may have been. I want to thank you all for coming today. Have a wonderful day. Go on with the tour. Thank you.